All right, let's see here. All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar. We're gonna just give everyone here a couple more minutes as people hop online right now. We're just gonna give everyone just another minute or two, and then we'll go ahead and get started for today's webinar. Jordan, does everything look good on your end?
We're ready to go.
All right, looks like the room is filling up here. So perfect. Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar, Google Ad Grants, how to maximize your nonprofit's $10,000 per month in free search ads. Let's see. You can see my screen okay, Jordan?
Yeah, good.
Perfect. And before we dive into today's webinar, we just wanted to say if you are interested in the Google Ad Grant as a nonprofit leader, you are in the right place for today's session. Whether you're new to ad grants and looking to quickly get approved, or learning how to, you have the grant but really want to help take your ad grant to that next level and getting the results you're seeking, you're in the right place. We're going to be sharing with you how to create a winning strategy to ultimately drive new supporters, volunteers, and donors to your site, sending hundreds, if not thousands, of new visitors to your site every single month. And we really put together what we believe to be some really strong content today, with tangible case studies as examples, and really curating content that's both going to support strategy and actual, the tactics you need to execute on. And last, you're in the right place if even after this webinar, you're wanting to know, what is the best next steps? What's my roadmap? We want to be in-house. We want to be a true practitioner of ad grants, and we need to execute. And so we wanted to put together some strong resources for you on that front as well. So my name is Cameron Ripley. I'm the CEO and founder here at Community Boost. And with me today is Jordan Schuler, one of our Google Ad Grant specialists. Jordan, anything you want to add here?
No, I'm excited. This is my first webinar, so excited to dive into it.
And for those of you that are new to Community Boost, we are a digital marketing agency based here in San Diego, California, that specifically focuses on nonprofits. Our purpose is we exist to empower social ventures changing the world. We've been helping the nonprofit sector for over 8 years now. Last year alone, in 2019, we directly served 186 nonprofit organizations and drove over $7.5 million in direct online donation revenue and revenue overall. We have 28 team members, and we're trusted by organizations like All Hands and Hearts, the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation, multiple humane societies, USA Basketball, and Trevor Project, which they're our ad grant case study today. And so we do a lot on the digital marketing front. We do Google Ad Grant management, Facebook and Instagram ad management, email marketing, SEO, conversion design, etc. But we really became best known for Google Ad Grant management over the past few years. And when we started Community Boost, the goal was really not just to build and grow an agency. The goal was, how do we help nonprofits online? And we actually set up our first ad grant in 2014. And for us, a lot has been history since then. To give you an idea of our scope of ad grant management here at Community Boost, we manage over $12.3 million in Google ad grant ad spend last year. We sent over 4.3 million visitors to different nonprofit websites from ad grants. We generated over 221,000 conversions for impact, or donations, subscribers, etc. And from ad grants in this channel alone last year, we generated over $3.4 million for our nonprofit partners in direct revenue. That doesn't even include lifetime value of new donors or anything like that. So this channel is powerful, and it's one that we have really specialized in and put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on. And you might see our team speaking on ad grants, whether it's webinars on some of the major donation platforms, or last year we did a little bit of a speaking tour with the Google team in Boston, New York, and San Francisco, and hit large conference stages like the Collaborative, or doing webinars with the Chronicles of Philanthropy. And we have some upcoming events as well, and upcoming projects with certain partners as well that are very ad grant focused. So long story short, we live and breathe ad grants, and we're excited to share that knowledge with you today. And so what is today's agenda exactly? First, Jordan's going to be giving a quick intro to the Google Ad Grant and how it works. And if you're new to it and you're looking, wanting to know how to apply, she'll be covering that as well. From there, we're going to dive into a Google Ad Grant case study and an example of how we use Google Ads to generate over $340,000 in a year. And then we're going to break it down between strategy and tactics. So how do you set and design a winning ad grant strategy? And we're sharing 5 tips on how to do that. And then from there, what are the tactics that can really make the biggest impact within your Google Ad Grant account and that have been proven to work? And we break that down in beginner, medium, and advanced. And last but not least, we're going to talk about what's next and how do you actually, utilize the ad grant to its fullest capability. And honestly, we're going to be sharing with you an exciting opportunity in which we're launching our Community Boost Ad Grants Academy, which is continued learning outside of this webinar today for those that are wanting to do that and to really be a practitioner of the ad grant. Now, before we dive into the content, if you do have any questions along the way, feel free to post those in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. And we'll go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to pass it over to Jordan now, who's going to kick us off.
Perfect. Thanks, Cam. So if you guys aren't already familiar with what the Google Ad Grant is, the Ad Grant is a $10,000 a month grant that Google provides to eligible nonprofits towards Google search text ads. We'll get into the details of eligibility and how the ad grant works, all of you newbies out there. But in general, it's really cool and incredible to see the impact that the Google Ad Grant has had for the nonprofit space in the 16 plus years that the ad grant has been around for. $10 billion have been given in digital advertising funds to over 115,000 nonprofits in over 51 countries. So before we get into the details about how all of that works, I'd love to go over why I love the ad grant and why we here at Community Boost have been ad grant fanatics for 8 years and counting. So when you take a look at the landscape of the nonprofit sector here in the States, there's over 1.5 million nonprofits that are registered here in the US alone. I speak to nonprofits every single day, and there's not one organization that I speak to that doesn't feel really that sense of crowdedness and competition. And, the same goes for the for-profit space as well. You can really kind of feel like this small fish in this huge ocean, right? But that's why we're here today. It's why we're having this conversation. Marketing, what is marketing to you? I love this question because I get a different answer every single time I ask it. But for us here at Community Boost, we believe that marketing is about acquiring attention and actually gaining traction, right? It's not just about impressions. It's not just about getting your brand in front of everyone and anyone anymore. We actually have technology that enables us and empowers us to actually get in front of the right people at the right time. We can, spend our precious minimal resources on those that most resonate with our work and with our mission. And that should really be our focus as we enter into this conversation. So to better understand the value of the ad grant, it's really important for us to first really understand the role that the ad grant plays in the digital ecosystem, so to speak, and in your organization's marketing strategy as a whole. So here is your classic marketing funnel, right? If you've ever taken kind of like an intro to business course, you're probably familiar with this thing. This is kind of where I say where all of the magic happens. So for every organization, their marketing funnels look a little bit different, right? So depending on your programs or services you offer, the types of constituents that you guys have, we also like to refer to this thing as the donor deciding journey, or maybe it's the volunteer deciding journey, for example. So generally speaking, where impact is made for us as an organization is in the investment and advocacy portions of our funnel. So someone donating for the first time and then becoming a recurring giving donor. But as you see, we clearly have to get through the top of the funnel before we can make our way down to the bottom. So the question is always, okay, well, how do we pump more people into our marketing funnel, right? And not just anyone and everyone, but a qualified and targeted audience. People have to know we exist first before they can get involved with us. So it makes sense that awareness would be step one. And no matter how people hear about us these days, the majority of people, right, are going to go to your website to learn more. It's just how the world works. So when seeking new qualified website visitors, Google search is key. And with Google search text ads, it's space that we're playing in with our Google ad grant. So what do Google search text ads look like, and how do they work with the ad grant? So when you're taking a look at this, upon completing a Google search for a volunteer in San Diego, it's where we are, we're based at, this made sense to us. The first results that we see here and that we're initially drawn to, right, are the first 4 search results, which we can see are all ads, signified by the black ad text symbol. Every nonprofit here that we see is clearly utilizing the ad grant. Back a slide, Cam. At least we can assume they're utilizing the ad grant. So the way that it works is every single time someone actually clicks on one of these search result ads, there's a cost associated with it, hence the name cost per click or CPC marketing. The cost of that click is actually dependent upon the keywords or key phrases that get typed into the Google search bar here. Right, it's volunteer in San Diego. The cost for keywords or key phrases is dependent upon the market demand. So how competitive the keyword is according to the frequency it's searched for and by how. So for example, if volunteer in San Diego costs $1, and then when someone clicks on this San Diego Food Bank ad, that $1 is then deducted from their $10,000 Google ad grant account. And this search intent is so powerful, you guys. As you can see, right, when someone is typing in volunteer in San Diego, we can safely assume that this person is looking to volunteer in San Diego. So for an organization in San Diego and we have these volunteer opportunities, this makes sense as to where we want to be popping up, the right person at the right time. So when we look at the power of Google search at scale, it really why every organization, nonprofit and for-profit alike, should really be advertising on Google. I mean, besides the fact that Google is a verb at this point now, 93% of all web sessions begin with a search. So clearly we know that, everyone's searching for something. All of those searches happening on the internet, 80% of searches are actually happening on Google, which is wonderful. I mean, that equates to about 5.6 billion searches on Google every single day. That's powerful, right? Clearly, this is where people's attention's at, and it's exactly what makes it a powerful platform for us to advertise on. So what the Google Ad Grant does for you guys as an organization, right, is it's going to increase awareness and engage people and educate them about who you guys are and what you guys do by sending qualified users to your website. Now, as an organization, right, we want website visitors to take some sort of action, like sign up to volunteer or donate or buy a ticket. Website visitors, for the sake of website visitors, doesn't necessarily the needle for us. But going back to our marketing funnel or our donor deciding journey, we know that most people, upon learning about us for the first time, they're probably, not going to be ready to make that first investment step of donating with us right away. So if we're getting the right people to our site who are interested in who we are and what we do in some way, shape, or form, we really should expand our strategy and think about lead generation, what our team likes to call this like soft conversion stage. So getting them to sign up for our email newsletter, for example, so that we can nurture and engage them in other ways and encourage that investment and advocacy action to happen when they're ready. That really sets the initial stage of really properly setting the right strategy for your ad grant. It's a great way to think about it, which of course we'll continue to expand on in the strategy portions a little bit later. So to wrap this up, for those of you who don't have the ad grant and are kind of on the edge of your seat yelling at your computer right now, I'm going to wrap up the details for you on eligibility. So if you are eligible for the Google ad grant if you're a qualified 501c3 according to your country's requirements, and you acknowledge and agree to the application certifications around non-discrimination, and you have a high quality website and account. If you're a government entity or organization, a hospital, healthcare organization, school, academic institution, university, you're unfortunately not eligible for the Google ad grant. But if you guys have any specific questions around whether your organization is eligible or not, reach out to us, and that's something that we can answer specifically for you. So go to google.com/nonprofits to create an account. You'll go through a pre-qualification video and quiz, and then you'll be walked through an initial account setup and submit your account number for final review. The typical turnaround time that we see here is around 2 weeks on average, about 10 business days. Could be a little bit less or a little bit more, kind of all depends. And Cam is now going to go over a case study that really does a great job at demonstrating the power of the ad grant and what it's done for an organization that we've worked with.
Perfect. Thanks, Jordan. So we wanted to share a little bit of this Google Ads and ad grant story about an amazing cause called the Trevor Project that we were honored to work with. The Trevor Project does crisis intervention and suicide prevention in LGBTQ communities, with a focus in individuals that are under 25 years of age. Really amazing cause, doing some tremendous work, leveraging technology as well to really live into their mission. Definitely check out their website. And some of their biggest online goals were to overall drive more awareness and a reach about their mission. From there, to help as many people through their 24/7 services, like Trevor Lifeline, Trevor Chat, Trevor Text, that really do save lives. From there, to generate more volunteer applications, to provide educational resources for those in need, and then last but not least, what most organizations want out of their marketing efforts, but to also scale online giving and donation revenue. And the ad grant has been really helpful for the Trevor Project, right? So a lot of what Jordan just spoke to in driving, different leads and awareness and that idea of the marketing funnel, which I love, the ad grant can really help there. And so this just kind of shows you in action for the Trevor Project, right? In this example, we see the search term LGBT suicide prevention, and then we see our search ads, and then our organic results, right? And so our Google ad grant can appear in the search ads right here at the top of Google. And so keywords that generated a lot of traffic for the Trevor Project in 2019 would include things like naturally branded terms. So if anyone was searching for anything related to the Trevor Project, we would use the ad grant to have even more real estate, both in ads and organic results for the organization. But then the real power of the ad grant is in that non-branded traffic. So search terms like LGBT suicide prevention, gay suicide prevention, LGBT suicide helpline, LGBTU charities. These are all just a few of the thousands of keywords that the ad grant sent traffic to their site from. And then from there, here they are in this example in the third ad position, right? And so that's the power of search intent. When you then click on that ad, we take them to, in this example, the homepage, because this is a bit more of a general search and they're looking for more of the tools, and it's where this organization has their tools. But we really encourage you ultimately to send to the most relevant page based on what somebody searched for, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today too. And so what happened? What did some of the data look like for this organization? Well, from their ad grant, the Trevor Project was able to utilize $62,000 in in-kind ads that they otherwise wouldn't have had in their marketing budget, right? We sent 24,000 visitors from the ad grant specifically to their site. The ad grant generated 191 volunteer applications, which is really important for their mission because they need trained volunteers on the other side of the Lifeline and Trevor Text and things like that. From there, over 4,300 visitors to the resources page, which is really important for how they make an impact. And then last but not least, the ad grant generated $106,000 in direct donations from an ad grant visitor. And so that was huge, And then the Trevor Project also tested some paid Google ads as well. So, this webinar is definitely more focused on ad grants, but there was a lot of learnings from the ad grant that inspired, their team too to also continue to grow their impression share and get even more traffic from Google too. And they sent an additional 24,000 visitors from paid Google ads and generated over $232,000 more dollars from paid Google ads as well. So bringing total donation revenue from Google ads to $339,000 for 2019, which, is tremendous, but also, I have to just reiterate what I personally love about this case study too, is when you just see some of the search terms, when somebody searches, LGBT suicide helpline and they need help, that's priceless in my opinion. And that's like life-saving work where the ad grant is directly playing into the mission and why they exist as well, when you can really bridge the gap of person in need to help, because we Google things that we often don't even talk to anyone else about, right, as people. So just amazing work here from the Trevor Project team. And hopefully that helps, illustrate a little bit more on top of what Jordan shared and just how the ad grant can work. But now let's dive into strategy and then tactics and how, top things to execute on. So hopefully at this point, you understand we have this $10,000 per month Google ad grant and there's kind of this blue ocean of how to use it, right? And here at Community Boost, we've done a lot of things right when it comes to Google ad grants, but we've also done a lot of things wrong over the past few years. And so we just want to accelerate your learning and kind of give you a way to think about how to develop your strategy. And there's 5 tips that we really recommend you keep in mind when sharpening your strategy of how the ad grant can best help your cause. So first is to define success beyond the click, which we'll dive into, measure what matters, reverse engineer how your target audience thinks and how to think about that with some tools, get comfortable with compliance, and then from there, we got to invest the time and resources to build a really strong foundation. So what do we mean by that? So number 1 is to define success beyond the click. When we talk to a lot of nonprofit leaders and they're new to ad grants, they're really focused on spending that $10,000 to its full amount and getting as much clicks as possible. That's not really the goal, right? And the goal is to move people through the marketing funnel. And so you need to set clear goals for each campaign you're setting up in your ad grant account. Like, why are we doing this? Is it for more volunteers in this example? Is it for donors, right? And then think through what is the most relevant landing page, because relevance in that user experience is so important, right? Like if someone's searching something like, homelessness statistics, well, we don't want to just send them to your donation page right away. Maybe if that's, plays into your mission, you have some resources there about, homelessness and how your organization helps, but you're answering kind of what they're searching for. Next is make sure your landing pages on site have very clear calls to action to drive that desired outcome. This is typically, people don't do this enough, to be honest, when they're doing their web development. From there, you want to make navigation easy, design your page well, and definitely focus in on how well your site looks and performs on mobile. It's growing. Google's prioritizing it. It really helps you get more impression share, as well. And then last, promote transparency and foster trustworthiness. So openly share on your site about your organization's impact, how they can contact you, and definitely make the online donation experience as easy and as secure as possible. From there, measure what matters is very important, right? So what we mean by this is, we can't improve what we're not measuring. And there's so many different ways the ad grant can benefit your organization, but you need to track those things online and track what happens after the click. So make sure you have proper conversion tracking set up. We definitely recommend Google Analytics. It's a free software. And it's not just to look at the total traffic and the demographics of your site. You want to measure the certain conversions, whether it's a volunteer sign up or a donation or somebody, watching a certain video that's really important to your mission or subscribing to your newsletter. You can track all those goals, and then you can optimize your account, your ad grants to drive more of those goals. And that's what we're doing this for. And then last, if you can add a value for each goal, that's huge. And so if your donation platform allows like e-commerce tracking, we'll talk a little bit more about that, where the actual donation dollars can go all the way back into your Google Ads account. So you could say, oh, this ad generated this many dollars. That's ideal, not just number of donations. And if you can't do that, then you can add an average amount. So our average donation is X. And so when this conversion goal happens, put that dollar amount in Google and it'll actually help your account perform better. Number 3 is to reverse engineer how your target audience thinks, right? So at this point, we talked about defining success beyond just the visitor, to measure all the key conversion goals that matter so you can improve them. And now, to really build your strategy, you need to take a second and think about your key personas and how do they actually search in Google. A lot of times you might ask a nonprofit, like, well, what keywords do you want to rank for? And we might say, oh, I don't know, donate to kids. And that's not enough. That's just like barely scratching the surface. There's so many different ways your personas might be searching to get them to your site. Maybe you're a museum, right? And it's not just museums in San Diego, it's things to do with my kids, or like science projects for kids, right? Like there's so many different ways you can provide value to your audience, and you got to think about reverse engineer someone's brain and what they're typing into Google. And then there's tools to help you do that. So Google has this tool called the Keyword Planner. It's a tremendously valuable asset. They also have search term reports. These are really important to kind of expand what other keywords you can go after. And then there's third-party tools like SEMrush that can also help you on this front. And take into consideration search volume and your keyword relevance, right? So your site needs to relate to the search terms that you're trying to drive visitors from. And you want to make sure that there's a decent search volume, right? If a keyword has 2 searches a month, that doesn't really do you much good. Number 4 is really encouraging you as this growing ad grant practitioner to get comfortable with ad grant compliance. So in January 2018, Google rolled out some of the largest ad grant compliance requirement updates we've ever seen. And also, I want to take a moment and just share, this is good for the sector. You definitely had people saying, oh, this makes it, more time intensive and whatnot, right? But prior to that, there was a lot of poor ad grant account quality being done, and at scale, a poor user experiencing was happening, and that long-term would be detrimental for the entire nonprofit sector, for the 45,000 ad grantees that are managing their account, right? So Google rolled out compliance, and it's really just the basics of best practice. So by staying compliant, you're actually building a healthier account. And but when you're new to ad grants, sometimes compliance can paralyze you, and you might be saying, oh, well, we're compliant, I don't really want to touch anything. And that's the wrong mindset, because the Google platform is ever evolving. You want to get to the point where it's like, oh, we got deactivated. Oh, this is unfortunate, but I was, expanding my account here, and I'm comfortable in reactivating it. It's pretty quick, right? And this way you're kind of always in the sandbox. You're always trying things new, and you just understand what's needed. And I put a link here to how Google breaks down what compliance is. Make sure you understand those terms. But certain things, right? Like the account has to have an average of over a 5% click-through rate, and you need conversion tracking. These are all best practices. And so honestly, going through the compliance list helps your account be healthier. And then last but not least is you do have to invest the time and resources, especially in that initial account setup, for long-term success. Ad grants builds over time as your ads prove effective. So by investing the time up front to do it well, you're going to see better results long term. So do the things to make sure you have strong ad copy, you've thought about your keyword strategy. Those foundational imperatives need to be done. And in today's ad grant world, it is not a set it and forget it environment. Give accountability to somebody on your team, and ensure you got some bandwidth to audit and optimize that account, at least for a few hours a month at minimum if you're managing it in-house. And if not, you can also enlist the help of experienced agencies like Community Boost or other consultants. The Google team has put together what they call the Ad Grant Certified Professionals Community, which we were one of the founding organizations in. But this is a list of vetted agencies that Google thinks does a great job with the ad grant. But even that aside, like, I want to encourage you, you can become a true practitioner. There is nobody on our Community Boost team that was really strong in specifically ad grants before joining our team. We just rolled up our sleeves, you put in the work, and you can get really good at it. And it's really fun. This isn't something you should just pass to an intern. You really should push your organization to own this ad grant opportunity, because by building that muscle as an organization, it's a muscle that will be there to take on the next digital platform as well. Your organization might be wanting to do TikTok for a younger audience, or Instagram, right? And so you've got to be able to own these channels, and make sure you have the team that is willing to put in that work. And I think that's just really important, and something I wanted to stress here. And so really the 5 kind of top tips to designing that winning strategy are to define success beyond the click, think about that full marketing funnel, measure what matters, get your tracking set up in the beginning, reverse engineer how your audience thinks, feel comfortable with compliance, and take risk in the account, and then last, put in the time and work to really get it. All right, so hopefully you're like, okay, I kind of get ad grants. I understand what we got to do to put together a strong strategy. But at this point, what are some of the top tactics in the account? We're already spending a little bit in our account. We get it, but what can we do to really move the needle? And so we wanted to break down this section into our 9 proven ad grant tactics that can really help drive more revenue, and broke them down into beginner optimizations, medium skill optimizations, and more advanced optimizations. And we'll dive into them. So first up is to put together very a tight-knit campaign and ad group organization. So identify your organization's goals, and translate that into your campaign structure. And I'll kind of go through an example here in a second. Conduct thoughtful keyword research as you build that out, and then group closely those keywords together into individual ad groups. So this is a very general breakdown of a campaign structure, right? So the account level is your organization, and then your different campaigns might have a certain call to action that you're focused on driving, right? Might be, signups for a program, volunteers, and donations. At the campaign level, right, this is where you control budget and bidding and where the location of these ads. And then at the ad group level is where you hold, multiple keywords, and the same kind of ad text appears in that ad group. And so build tightly themed ad groups, right? And so I really like this. You typically want, 5 to maybe at most 20 keywords in an ad group. And so this is okay, right? Where we're going after these keywords, these search terms, things like learn to code for kids, adult coding kids, how can I learn to code? But what's better is when we break up an ad group 1 and ad group 2, where we have kids classes up here, where those ads are very related to kids classes, and then we break out adult classes here. But then what's even great, and another step, is kind of taking it even a little bit more granularly. And you're typically going to see better results when you break it up like that. Number 2 is to follow ad copy best practices. So the more you can incorporate that search term, the keyword from the ad group into the ad copy, the better. And then definitely start out by creating 3 ads per ad group and utilize single variable testing to kind of see which ad performs the best. So we'll talk through that a little bit more. And then utilize all of the available fields when creating the ad. So display pass, headline 3, description 2, to get more of your message across to the user when they search. And we have some examples here. So, to create ads that respond to the person's search in their own words, some of the things you can do is, use keywords in that ad copy, use relevant landing pages, never forget about the landing page and where we're sending them to. When testing, test one concept at a time. Use ad extensions. These are huge and give you more real estate on the first page of Google. And then tailor that message by the audience. So tailor ads to the audience, like, returning visitors, for example, compared to, someone searching for your brand, right? So create effective ads with extensions. So things like site link extensions really improve the performance. Call out extensions, location extensions can really help. Call extensions. Get comfortable testing all of these and use them. Number 3 is single variable A/B testing. So this is when, we have 2 ads and we want the full ad to be the same except for one element of that ad, right? And so here we're, let's see, we're testing some of the copy here, right? And where our headline is the same. So we run this ad for 681 impressions versus 701 impressions, but one has a 44% conversion rate and a click-through rate of 16% and is simply outperforming, right? And our cost per click is less. So we get more out of our Google Ad Grant budget by A/B testing. And so analyze that click-through rate and conversion rate. And then once you have a winner, duplicate the winning ad, and then you're testing something else, right? And so this is how you keep chipping away and improving your goals long-term. All right, so moving into some of the medium section here. Number 4 is to test keyword match types. So start, with broad match keywords and then move into testing broad match modifier, phrase, and exact. Test those different match types to see, what gets more impressions or has a lower cost per click. And just keep monitoring the results there. And this is definitely can really improve performance long-term, can also help you just get more traffic too. Number 5 is smart bidding strategies. For example, maximize conversion bidding strategy, which is, one of the most popular. So you want to definitely use the conversion-based smart bidding. It's now actually required for new ad grant accounts, but don't let this feel overwhelming. This is basically just using Google's machine learning to optimize for you for conversions or for conversion value, like the donation revenue in each and every auction. And this basically is where kind of gone are the days of manually adjusting a bid in Google Ads by cents at a time and just allowing the machine learning of Google to do a better job than you can, basically. So definitely use this. We've seen tremendous results from it. It's really helped increase conversions and revenue. And one of the things that the ad grant is kind of known for, right, is this $2 bid limit when you're manual bidding, right? Meaning we can't manually bid for $5 a click. But when doing smart bidding, this is when our account is performing and we're tracking those conversions, that sometimes we'll see clicks from our ad grant account for $5, for $6, for $10. For those most relevant keywords that we otherwise would not have been able to get those visitors if we were only manually bidding. So this can really, really help. Number 6 is you set up conversion value tracking, or at minimum assign conversion value tracking. So for a lot of organizations, we're almost all using Google Analytics. And if you have, say you have a shop or a Shopify store on your website, or a donation platform like Classy or some of the Blackbaud suite, where you can have conversion value, like the dollar amount of donations being tracked in e-commerce, it's pretty easy to then connect that to Google Ads. And it can really help improve the performance of your account, and is a foundational item to really understand, can we do this? And then if not, thinking about and actually just assigning in an actual, say we know that only the number of donations we're tracking, well, what's your average donation amount? And then setting that assigning that as a conversion value goal can really help improve the results of your account. And then moving into some of the advanced tactics, number 7 is budget allocation. So we recommend using a shared budget to allocate budget across multiple campaigns to really help improve your return on investment. And then you can adjust budgets based on seasonality. For example, a theater might want to give more budget to a ticket sales campaign before a certain show runs out, or you could consider allocating more budget to a donation campaign at the end of the year, since that's when more online giving occurs, right? The total daily budget of Google Ad Grants is $329, but you can have that set to above that, and the actual spend in the account will cap at $329. Number 8 is quality score, and really focus on improving this and monitoring it. So, and what quality score is an estimate of the quality of your ads, keywords, and landing pages. So higher quality ads and higher quality scores can lead to lower prices per click and better ad positioning, being at the top of the kind of ad position rankings. And so to improve your quality score, you can constantly optimize and rewrite your ad copy to be more closely related to the keywords, and then be mindful or even change the landing pages that you're directing users to so they're really relevant to the keyword search, right? So say you're a museum and you have a blog and it says, and somebody searches, things to do in San Diego. Well, maybe you have a list of things to do, but then you're really featuring your museum as one of them, right? So that would improve the landing page, right? So to kind of see this formula, the quality score is basically breaks down into landing page experience, the expected click-through rate, higher click-through rate, the better your quality score will be, because Google sees that as a leading indicator that people like your ads, and then ad relevance. So kind of the relation of the terms. And then last but not least is when to use experiments. So use experiments to test certain variables more directly. This is definitely, can be a little bit more of an advanced tactic, but can really be beneficial. So for example, you can create an experiment to test maximize conversion bidding versus enhanced CPC for a donation campaign, right? And to see if one bidding strategy leads to higher conversion rate and a lower cost per action. So you can kind of split the traffic between those two bidding strategies. So after a few weeks, you know which one's more effective. And then once the experiment is complete, you can evaluate the performance and then apply that to the original campaign, or even create a new campaign with the change applied. And so to recap, we originally had strategy, and then if we had to break down and kind of prioritize and give you a sense of difficulty, these are the 9 proven ad grant tactics to scale revenue. So tight-knit campaign and ad group organization that often happens in the beginning. Follow those ad copy best practices. Use single variable A/B testing. From there, test keyword match types. Use smart bidding strategies. Leverage conversion value tracking or e-commerce tracking. And then the advanced, so seasonal budget allocation, optimizing to increase your quality score, and use experiments when you're ready. But all these do take time and effort, and yet are really important to setting a strong ad grant foundation to hopefully help you achieve the success you're looking for in your Google Ads accounts. So now I'm going to pass it to Jordan. I know we've covered a lot today, which is always the fun debate on how much to cover when talking about Google Ad grants. But we've been working really hard and putting together some resources for the entire nonprofit sector to give you that further continued learning and support needed to get the most out of your specific ad grant account. So Jordan, I'll pass it to you.
Perfect. Yeah, so, clearly there's so much opportunity here for every organization to really take it and leverage the power that's here with the ad grant. I mean, it's really hard to argue with $10,000 in free Google ad spend that consistently sends new qualified users to your site every single month and week and day. And although, the Google Ad Grant is by no means rocket science, again, as a team that specializes in Google Ad Grant management, we've really had to fail our way to success to where we are today. So that being said, yeah, there is a real learning curve to being a strong ad grants practitioner. Google reports actually that on average, nonprofits only spend about $300 of their $10,000 every single month. And we don't want you guys to fall into that statistic. What I love about our team is that we, continue to stay true to our mission of empowering organizations like yours that are having a real and meaningful impact. So we hope that, this webinar has been motivating and empowering, but also, our team has worked really hard over the past year to build a Google Ad Grants Academy based off of all of our best practices that we implement here for our nonprofit partners when it comes to their ad grant. So ultimately, we want to make sure that you guys have all of the tools to really bear the fruit that the ad grant has to bear. Most organizations we speak to, whether they have the ad grant currently or not, they know that they, one, need to get the ad grant but haven't had the time to get around to it, or two, they have it and they know they're not leveraging it well. So you really, have this teeter-totter between doing nothing and having it consistently looming in the back of their minds, and then also taking stabs at it themselves with little results and just frustration. So that's exactly why we built this Google Ad Grants Academy. We don't want this to be just another webinar that you guys are attending, right? We don't want you to get discouraged when you actually do take action with your ad grant. So in the Academy, you guys will learn directly from our team of ad grant certified professionals to get you guys on the fast track to being a true ad grant practitioner and have a real impact for your organization. So with over 8 years of experience and gosh, at this point, having worked with over 500 nonprofits on the Google Ad Grant front alone, the challenge that we've really observed all organizations to have with their ad grant always stems from the same place. Their ad grant never got off, but there was really never that strong, firm foundation that was built from the start. So whether an organization, your organization has had the ad grant for years, or you're, on your way to applying for it right now, the Ad Grant Academy solves for all of that, right? Whether you're needing to rewire or just properly wire for the first time. Our team has spent the past year writing and recording and re-recording and developing this academy. And, of course we're biased, but we really do believe without a doubt it's It's the best academy out there right now. There's over 70 video lessons. There's quizzes to test your guys' understanding along the way and to solidify that learning. And not only that, what I think is really cool, but if you complete your academy within 60 days, you guys will actually receive a complimentary ad grant audit and feedback on your account build from our team personally. And we feel so confident about this, and we want to make sure that this is available to you guys and that we kind of minimize that risk, but we've built in a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you guys aren't happy or don't get whatever it is that you're hoping to get out of this, no questions asked, we'll completely refund you guys. End of the day, right, our goal is to just be the best resource we can be for you as you really set out on this journey. So the Ad Grant Academy costs $4.99, but we've created a coupon code that's actually live for the next 30 days, and it'll knock off 40% for you guys. So use the code EMPOWER2020 and get the Academy for $2.99. I'm an ad grant specialist here, and even I learned a few things when I went through the academy myself. All of our new team members go through the academy when they join our team. So that if you guys can take advantage of it, you definitely don't want to skip out. So go to adgrantacademy.org and yeah, sign up and use that code. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, our team would love to talk to you guys, answer your questions. You can email us at info@communityboost.org or Perfect. Cam, what are we doing? Are we taking questions or?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. You know, I think I just want to reiterate this as well. You know, hopefully today's webinar was very value packed. You know, that was the goal to, it's always interesting to start from, you know, if you're brand new to ad grants or if you're kind of just looking for those optimizations that are seeing results, but to help you get to the next level. So we did our best to cover a lot of that, but the Academy really helps bridge that gap from, okay, here's hours and hours of content. You can hit the sections you need and you can see the screen shares, kind of follow people in action and just bring it all together for you. That was really the goal there. And we're, you know, again, I just want to reiterate, you know, our purpose is we exist to empower social ventures changing the world. And that's why we rolled out the 100% money back guarantee. I mean, if you're just not satisfied, if it didn't meet your expectations, just let us know and we'll take care of that. But we wanted to create this because, you know, we work with a lot of organizations, but at times there's organizations that simply want to do it themselves. And as an entrepreneur, like, I think that's super cool to just roll up your sleeves and be a practitioner. And we hope that the Academy saves you a ton of time and you feel like it's worth it. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions in the process. But we'll go ahead and open it up to Q&A here a little bit too about today's content and go from there. Let me see here. So Amber says, will the slides be available after the webinar? Yes. So yes, we'll be sending you an email with the deck and sending that your way, Amber. If for some reason you don't get it, let us know as well. Janet says we'll be sending a recording. Yes, we will. We will be sending you recording in the deck. I know the content of this deck also had a lot of content and writing, and for me, I like to do that in webinars so people almost have a book to review as opposed to just visual slides only. So yes, both of those things will be available. Donna asks, how do I add our marketing manager to the account? I think you're referencing your ad grant account. You should be able to go into my account and invite other users. And if you're having any trouble just troubleshooting that though too, don't hesitate to reach out. We work with a lot of organizations and getting access. Sometimes ad grantees lose their access and have to recover it if like an intern set up the account, you know, 5 years ago. So let us know what your exact situation is there and we can help you if, you know, a Google search can't. Okay, I've got another question here. for Jordan. Jordan, I'll give it to you. But so basically, so we mentioned that nonprofits don't often spend the full amount of the ad grant. Can you explain that a little bit more, like why you mentioned that?
Yeah. Well, I think just, our philosophy as a team really highlights kind of, the need to not spend all $10,000. I think we like to call like spend and clicks kind of those vanity metrics, like they look really good on the outside, but ultimately, right, our North Star should always be those conversions, those valuable actions that are actually taken on a website. So, the search volume of the keywords that you're really targeting and working within for your ad grant personally are going to differ, right? And depending on the location, like if you're in the heart of New York City, you're dealing with a lot of people and a lot of search volume. So naturally, you're going to be spending more money. But if you're, kind of limited in your programs and your services are limited to a certain county, for example, then that search volume is going to differ. So really normal to not spend all $10,000. Really, your emphasis should be on, okay, well, how can I effectively spend, our ad grant money? Our team would rather spend $5,000 effectively than spend all $10,000 ineffectively. And we really should be looking at it from, again, that conversion standpoint of, okay, what real fruit are we bearing from these clicks? What real fruit are we really bearing from this spend? I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think, like, again, we don't want to put the emphasis on just ad grant spend. That's kind of missing the mark, but spend can be a leading indicator of effectiveness to some degree. If you're a national organization serving, say, veterans nationally, and you're only spending a couple hundred, well, you're probably missing out on a lot of potential traffic. But if you're a more local cause and you're spending 500, but everything's relevant, that's good. So that's kind of what we meant, but it kind of depends on your potential reach. And most organizations can more effectively spend as well. Had a question here about, and I can take this one, about the case study where we mentioned Google ad grant results, but also Google ad results. So yes, we did. So in the Trevor Project case study, we shared, a lot of the metrics from their ad grant where they raised over $100,000, and then also they were definitely raising money through paid Google ads as well. And I think our recommendation here is, if you're new to Google ads overall, really focus in on the ad grant. It's free, right? $120,000 a year. This is your sandbox. And then once you're getting comfortable with that, you can, the ad grant, like paid Google ads will always be ahead of ad grants long-term, right? And so using both can be really powerful. Most, larger organizations that are putting a lot of focus on digital are doing both. But start with the ad grant. This is your sandbox, and if you're going to test, paid Google ads for like a specific fundraising campaign or something that's more tied directly to revenue, go for it. But I would say definitely master ad grants first, and then you're going to feel way more comfortable in using paid Google ads or YouTube ads or things like that. That's kind of that idea of building the muscle. All right, we'll take one more question and then we'll call it a day. And so this question was from Michael in regards to just compliance overall. I mean, it had a few parts here, but it was overall just hitting the idea of compliance and being deactivated. So again, on the one deck, we had a link to the compliance requirements from Google. You can also search it. It's on their site. And I think just understanding that, and we also have some content on the Community Boost site of checklists that can be really helpful. If you've ever been deactivated, you can actually get reapproved pretty quickly. But if you're following those steps, you're gonna likely be good. And then in our academy, we do have a whole section on compliance too, because for me, the end goal is to get comfortable with it and not let it paralyze you, and not let it make your team fearful of like further building in the account, because the whole goal is that those are just benchmarks to help you, get pretty good results. But we actually want to be doing work even better than what the compliance requirements are. So perfect. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Hopefully this was powerful. The Google Ad Grant is an incredibly powerful marketing channel. It's the backbone of so many of the organizations we work with when it comes to their, search engine funnels and their online efforts. So we hope you got a ton of value out of this. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, and have an amazing day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, Jordan.
Are we done?